So I woke up this morning and it's freezing. 56 degrees, you guys. I had to pull out the hoodie. Look, being in South Louisiana, I don't tolerate the cold well. So welcome back, friends and family of the internet, to Starkey Farmstead. In today's video, in my true form and fashion, is gonna be long. Yeah, because the information I have to give you, it it's not like that. That's not how this works, okay? So I'll try to get the really good stuff out at the beginning, but if you miss the end, you are going to go back. Oh. So it's up to you. Turn me on, set me down, start doing your daily routine. Just listen. Today, we're going to be discussing mirrors, portals, demonic possession and control. We're going to talk about the Mormon temple mirrors of eternity. We are going to talk about Charlie Kirk and how all of this is connected and why. Why should this bother you? Why should you listen? Because eventually it is going to affect you, friends and family. There is some evidence, and I am still digging it up, that the new apostolic reformation, the NAR, and the Seven Mountain Mandate came from the Mormon church. This false theology, this heretic thinking that is sweeping the evangelical church, something Charlie Kirk pushed and firmly believed in, is coming from the Mormon church. Not to mention that Joseph Smith, the founder of the Mormon church, ran as an independent candidate for president of the United States in 1844, and he was assassinated. Mitt Romney ran for president of the United States, a Mormon. He did make it in there. Millard Fillmore appointed Brigham Young as Utah's territorial governor. Everybody knows who Young is, another Mormon. And Hoover allowed a Mormon apostle to spend 2 weeks on his honeymoon in the White House. Now, here's the thing. The Mormon church, are, to be politically correct, the LDS, as they rebranded themselves, has a full replica of the Oval Office in their biggest temple. So I think the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated in Utah should absolutely not be ignored. The fact that he was assassinated by a practicing Mormon should not be ignored. It just should not be. All right. So let me get this up here for you guys. Shocking allegations. Could the Mormon church be linked to Charlie Kirk's murder? In a controversial discussion, some people suggest a potential link between the murder of Charlie Kirk and the Mormon church, raising eyebrows in the tight-knit community of Orem, Utah. Now, for the ones of you that watch me for a while, you know what Orem means. It means dragon. Okay? Theories are surfacing as individuals point to the church's power and financial practices amid the national scandal. Reports indicate Orem, which is predominantly Mormon, has become a hub for speculation following Kirk's murder, with a dense population of LDS. Some folks highlight how the church wields significant influence in Utah, claiming it maintains ties with countries like China, Russia, and Israel. All right. The church owns an insane amount of property all over the world, having embezzled tithing money into the stock market, and that is true. A lot of eyes need to turn towards the Mormon church. For most of us who followed Charlie Kirk, we were shocked when we realized that half of his staff was Mormon. Guys, yeah, Mormons might be great people. They might be friendly and so sweet. As far as their theology is concerned, only way to heaven is through the Book of Mormon, not through Jesus, through their beliefs. Okay. The discussion reflects a mix of skepticism and outright confrontation towards the church's role. While some call for cautious examination of the evidence, others are fully invested in wild speculation about covert operations and potential government cover ups. Here's my thing, there's something here because look at this. Soon as Charlie Kirk was assassinated, the first presidency statement condemned violence, calls for peace, kindness, and love. This comes straight out of the LDS Church. By the way, yesterday, a couple of people commented on my channel that there's been 17 U.S. presidents that were Mormon. That is incorrect. There have been 17 Mormon presidents. That's two totally different things. The first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints released a statement Friday afternoon condemning violence and calling for peace, with the latter underscoring a need to build communities of greater love and peace. Guys, look at this. Wow. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints condemns horrific acts of violence worldwide, including the recent assassination in Utah. We urge all to reject violence and instead build understanding. This is, I'm a little confused, and I'm going to tell you why. Kirk died after being shot in the neck during the September 10th rally and appearance at UVU by Tyler Robinson, 22, of Washington, Utah, who was arrested the following day and taken into custody. Here's why I'm confused. Why are so many people that are involved in the Mormon church violent? And there's a lot of it. Why are so many of them sucked into NASA, into the FBI, into the CIA? Why are we seeing so many Mormon influencers being promoted across all platforms, especially YouTube and Instagram? We're going to get into that as we go further. I just want you to think about that. And why are they always holding hands? They're probably all double first cousins, right? It says, last week, President Nelson penned an op-ed titled, "We All Deserve Dignity and Respect," admitting that living to 101 is a privilege I never expected. The prophet and president of the church offered enduring truths learned over his lifetime. So September 9th, this man turned 101. A lot of Mormons have been in instances where they have fought with the federal government. I'm actually going to do a 7-part series on the Mormon church, and I'm going to show you how many times these people have been involved with like shootouts with like federal agents and stuff. And then you find this one. A month ago, Michigan cops refused to rule out the Charlie Kirk connection in the Mormon church shooting that happened in Michigan. The cops refused to rule out that there is some kind of connection between one event and the other. They never really say what they think is the connection. They just say they're not ruling it out. I had brought that up earlier to you guys. It just says that they refuse to rule out a possible Charlie Kirk connection in a shooting at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township that left 4 dead and several injured on Sunday. There is something here. Even the police are saying it. Now, there's something in the Mormon church called the Mirrors of Eternity. It's like a temple thing they do with married couples. Let me explain something to you guys. The Mormon church has a lot of members high up in like places like the CIA, where you've got MK Ultra, mind control, hypnosis. So just hear me out. You've got these people who are Mormon that go learn these techniques. Then they come back to the church and they apply them to unsuspecting members of their church. So it says here, how to build a hypnotic report through matching and mirroring. Now, this is very important. Building a rapport is one of the cornerstones of effective hypnosis and communication. So you've got people that go in, a married couple, they kneel on this cushion facing each other like this. And behind this person is a mirror, and behind this person is a mirror. So they're seeing each other and themselves for like ever, supposedly like eternity. Okay. So this is going to establish a deep and genuine connection, but there's also their prophet there in the room and their families, right? So it's real like cultish. So what exactly does it take to create a connection like this? One that is powerful, all right? While some may dismiss this as a tool simply because it's NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. The other day I was talking about the way certain people repeat words or they'll whisper. And one of you, I can't remember who, said, Sam, that is NLP. It is something that the Mormon church uses a lot. So I started digging. They are not lying. There are several influencers online that use the NLP, the neuro linguistic programming technique, and they are Mormon. Okay. When used correctly and naturally, matching and mirroring can lead to a powerful subconscious alignment, which in turn creates trust, powerful feedback loop between the hypnotist and the subject. Here, the process of building hypnotic rapport through matching and mirroring will be explored in detail, indicating why it works, how to use it effectively, and why forcing it can lead to failure. So I think that's why not every Mormon couple goes through the mirroring part of the temple, because if they force it, it's not going to work. Matching and mirroring are processes where you subtly replicate another person's body language, tone of voice, gestures, and even speech patterns. The idea is that whenever an individual subconsciously sees someone else reflecting their behavior, they're very likely to feel much more comfortable and aligned with them. The unconscious mind communicates silently, creating a rapport without people even realizing it. True matching and mirroring happens unconsciously and naturally. When rapport is generally established, both individuals fall into sync without consciously trying to match every movement or every word. This is actually biblically correct. And I'm going to tell you why. God tells you, especially in Proverbs, do not hang out with people who seek innocent blood. Why? Because you'll begin to behave like that. If you lie down with dogs, friends, and family, eventually you're going to get up with what? Please. God tells us to guard who we spend time with, what we watch, what we listen to, because it is going to build in us, comes in through our eye gates and our ear gates, straight into our head, eventually into our heart, and then up and out of the thing that controls everything, your mouth. If matching and mirroring are done incorrectly, it can feel awkward, even disingenuous, because parroting is a conscious effort to mimic another person. So, all right. By the way, please make sure that you are subscribed. We are so close to 110,000. I'd like to hit it by the end of the day. And with you amazing people sharing, liking, commenting, we can do it. Friends and family, we can do it. All right. So there's something called the law of reverse effect, which states that the more someone consciously tries to achieve something the unconscious mind can handle, the more likely they are to fail. In simple terms, the harder an individual tries to consciously mirror someone, the more awkward and unnatural their interaction becomes. I think this is what we see when we say all the world is a stage. Thank you, Shakespeare. Because we see a lot of people that we relate to who are in movies like The Chosen. Um, what's the one where they went to get the children? I'm going to do a long video on that one. Sound of Music. We're gonna deep dive why people feel like the person in the movie is an actual person. Those people are just living out and acting a specific role. We look back, we know that Candace Owens had an acting career prior to getting into podcasting. We see that with Erica Kirk. In fact, we're seeing that with a lot of people in power right now. Zelensky, he was an actor. I did a video on that. He's cross dressed, dancing in leather and heels. Even President Trump, Ronald Reagan, they were all into some form of acting before they got into, the public square, so to speak. All right. So, it goes on to tell you how to do the hypnotic rapport through matching and mirroring. We're not really going to get into that. It says the practical application for it. Okay. Set an intention before interacting with the subject. Tell your unconscious mind that you aim to build rapport. Be present. Enter a state of heightened awareness, a light trance. Avoid overthinking. Internalize positive connections. Recall relationships. And this is exactly what they do in the Mormon temple when they have people staring into those mirrors. They're telling them to think about their past relatives, dead people. God says stay away from them, all the way into the future. Okay. Now, the Shadow Grimoire, and I'm showing you this for a reason. Mirrors in magic, right? Portals, protection, and traditions. Mirrors have long been associated with magical and spiritual practices across cultures, right? This post will dive into how mirrors are used in magical practices, where not to place them, and beliefs surrounding mirrors in different traditions. Mirrors are often thought to act as portals between worlds. So, for a lot of us that look at the Mormon church and we're like, okay, that is so weird. You have spheres on all your churches, you have a false angel blowing a horn, right? That is one of the fallen, the Nephilim. That is not an angel of God that spoke to Joseph Smith at all. It's just like what happened with the Muslims. That is a fallen angel. That is a Nephilim. And this entire church is worshiping the fallen. Okay. So yeah, I think their mirror portal, I think it is people that go through the mirroring need to go through a cleansing if they leave the church. They need to have someone that is strong in biblical truth, pray over them, lay hands on them, anoint them with oil, get baptized in the name of Jesus, full baptism underwater, because demons cannot swim. That's a different video. I'll do that for you guys, but just they can't. They can't. That's why when Jesus cast the demon into the pigs, they ran off the cliff and they drowned. So full body submersion for you guys coming out of the Mormon church, because this mirror was a gateway to another dimension, a realm, or even a spirit world. Practitioners using mirrors in this way will typically set specific intentions to avoid any unwanted energies or entities from passing through the portal. So they've got people on their knees facing each other, looking into mirrors like this that go forever. And it's bad. For those wishing to use mirrors as portals, it is important to create boundaries and protective barriers, such as drawing seagulls, casting a circle, or using cleansing rituals. All right. So I've never been into one of these Mormon rooms, but I know Mormons are big on their symbols, just like the Masons. So any ex-Mormons in the comments, did you guys do any kind of weird prayer before or after the couple kneels with the mirrors? I mean, I'd like to know, you know. So you can scry with mirrors, which is divination. Uh, it's common practice in various magical traditions. Black mirrors, in particular, are used for this purpose. Practitioners gaze into the darkened surface to see visions, gain insights, or communicate with spiritual beings. Mirrors as a tool for protection. We're not really worried about that. Not really worried about that. In the Chinese Feng Shui, mirrors are used to direct and balance energy, which is called qi. Ancient Egypt mythology, mirrors were considered portals to the afterlife, which is okay. So for the Mormons, there's a lot of Egyptian nonsense mixed into the church through Joseph Smith. You've got, the supposed paper that he what did they call that, you guys? I can see it. It's like he had golden plates in Egyptian, and he had mummies, and he also had like papyrus or whatever, and he supposedly could be the only person to translate it. And years later, when they learned how to read Egyptian, they went back and read it. It was nothing what this man said it was. It was all smoke and mirrors, literally. So I think really Joseph Smith had a lot of Egyptian mythology mixed into the Mormon religion. And he used the mirrors for portals to the afterlife. That's why he makes people kneel in front of them, where supposedly they can see all their ancestors lined up behind them and all the ones in front of them through eternity, right? It's also associated with the goddess Hathor, which is associated with beauty and femininity, was said to hold a magical mirror that allowed souls to pass between worlds. Guys, I'm just telling you that mirrors are considered a versatile and powerful tool in magic, serving various purposes from divination to protection. However, their energy should be respected and managed properly to avoid unwanted spiritual encounters. I'd like you just don't mess with them. So here's a bit about the Mormon church and how it is almost identical to the Masonic lodges.
Would have performed the ceremonies carried out with Masons. And because of the timing, Joseph Smith is inducted as a Mason in early 1842. In May of 1842, he introduces the temple endowment. But there are some parallels between the Latter-day Saint endowment ceremony and the Masonic ceremony. So we're going to take a few minutes and explore those parallels, how they came from, how we explain them, and how the Masons may have influenced the development of Latter-day Saint temple practice.
Some Masons think their practices descend from Solomon's Temple, others from the Knights Templar. But many Freemason scholars point to Masonry beginning in the 13th century, when stonemasons created guilds. We know that Joseph Smith's brother, Hiram Smith, was a Freemason early on, and that Joseph Smith joined later on. This is an exciting opportunity we have not just to learn about Latter-day Saint history, but also Freemasonry in general.
Hi, Lon.
Casey, welcome to the Salt Lake Masonic Temple.
Today we're touring with Lon Tibbetts. Lon has been a Grand Master and is currently a Grand Secretary. He's also served in the church as a bishop, and he regularly gives tours in the Masonic Temple.
We are exploring a little bit about the connection between Latter-day Saints and Freemasons, and I understand you're both. Correct?
I am. That's true.
You're a member of the church, and you're a member of this Masonic Lodge.
Yes.
And you give tours all the time, and you're going to show us through.
I am.
Okay. We'll lead the way. We're excited.
This is the Grand Hall.
The Grand Hall.
We don't hold meetings here. It's kind of a foyer, if you will. The pictures in this room are the pictures of men or women who have held national or international presidencies of Masonic bodies.
Okay. How long have these women's organizations been around?
It's more than 100 years, but I don't know how much more than that. So we do call them appendant bodies or concordant bodies. So Freemasonry itself is really the first 3 degrees in a lodge. And Scottish Rite, York Rite, Shriners are also appendant bodies as well.
Okay, so all these would be organizations that are attached.
Attached.
Gotcha. And
Let's go back. I want to show you guys something in case you missed it. Watch carefully.
Are also appendant bodies as well.
okay, so all these would be organizations that are
Right here, you see this? Order of Knights of Malta. You see this imp symbol right here around Erica Kirk's neck. You guys, now, I had somebody that used to watch me all the time, literally curse me like a dog. By the way, if you're a Christian, stop threatening people. That is totally against how Jesus behaves. For the rest of you that do it, well, it just shows me that you aren't a Christian because we don't behave like that. If we disagree with someone, we either agree to disagree or we just be done with that person, right? But we don't stalk. We don't, that's all antichrist behavior. But the Order of Knights of Malta is what Erica Kirk's fraternal grandfather was. He also had some ties to some Swedish stuff, right? But it shows you here, like, look at this, guys. Order of Knights of Templar Commander, Order of Knights of Malta, Order of the Red Cross, Order Excellent Master Council, Select Master, Royal Master, Mark Master, Most Excellent Master, Past Master, Virtual Royal Arch Mason Chapter. Then you've got the Inquisitor Commander, Knight of Cadassy, Knight of St. Andrew, Knight of the Sun, Knight of Commander of the Templar, Prince of Mercy, Knight of the Brazen Serpent, Prince of the Tabernacle, Chief of the Tabernacle, Knight of the Royal Axe, Noahshite or Prussian Knight, Master ad Vitam, Grand Pontiff, Knight of the Rose Crux, I can't see it, Knights of the East and West, Prince of Jerusalem, Knights of the East or Sword, Grand Select Mason, Master of the Ninth Arch, Grand Master Architect, Sublime Master Elected, Master Elect of 15, Master Elect of 9, Intendant of the Building, Provost and Judge, Intimate Secretary, I don't know if that's Prefect Master or, I can't see it, Secret Master, okay.
attached.
Sublime Prince of the Royal Secret, Red Cross Constantine, Act of 33, Royal Order of Scotland, Council, and I can't see if these two mean anything. This is the AAOMS Shrine, Knight Commander of the Court of Honor.
Gotcha. And the lodges move from place to place.
They can.
They can.
Yeah. They become more permanent as we've started buying buildings. This business of having buildings wasn't, they met in halls, but typically rented.
So that might not be something people know, is that a lodge refers to the people.
It does.
And not necessarily the building that they're in.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this building, you use the word temple differently
Yes.
than Latter-day Saints use it. Explain the difference.
So the difference between the two, a temple in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a place where we go and do ordinance work. And we do degree work in a Masonic temple, but it's built around the fact that all of our myths have to do with the Temple of Solomon. And so lodge rooms are patterned after the Temple of Solomon, those kinds of things. So that's why we would use that word. It doesn't have any religious connotations whatsoever.
Is there a religion requirement? Does it matter what religion you're part of?
So no, it doesn't matter what religion. We would say that we're not a religious society, but a moral society. Men who join us take obligations to do good things, and there needs to be a higher power that they would hold themselves accountable to.
So you want to see where the apostasy of the church is coming in? You want to see where this ecumenical, that one did want to come out, did it? Ecumenical movement through the Christian churches coming through. You know, you see Kash Patel, a Hindu. You know, you've got these other people in Trump's cabinet, right? And they're basically, you guys, as long as you have a higher power. We heard this at a TPU USA rally the other day. One of the young men said, but this is TPU USA is supposed to be Christian. It is supposed to be a Christian organization. And he got pushback. The speaker is like, nope. You know, I believe in the 10 Commandments too, therefore I have a higher power. Be careful with that. That's coming directly from this.
If they broke that obligation, you don't have to be a member of a church, but you do have to recognize a supreme being. Not necessarily a recognized supreme being, but it can't be Satan. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So you don't have to be a member of any church, but if you acknowledge a higher power.
Right. And we don't check up to make sure you're active or any of those kinds of things. We take a man at his word. Our advertising tagline is that we take good men and make them better.
Right.
We really are very narrowly focused there.
You're like the Marines. You're looking for a few good men.
A few good men, yeah.
Now that we have the basics, Lon takes us into our first lodge room.
Oh, wow. So what would this room be called?
This is the colonial room.
The colonial room is one of 5 different lodge rooms in the temple. Each lodge room is designed differently with its own historical theme.
And the reason we call it the colonial room is just its architecture.
Yeah, the decor. I recognize this gentleman right over here.
Most Masonic temples or Masonic lodges across the United States have this exact print up on the wall someplace. We don't deify, but we do venerate George Washington. We look to him as one of the Masonic forefathers of American Masonry. Here you've probably seen there's prints all the way in here of George Washington in different settings.
Well, tell us, what can you say about this room?
This is the altar. We also call it a trestle board. A trestle board would have been a place where ancient stonemasons would have had their plans laid out. There's some symbolism in that for us. What's on this for us is a King James version of the Bible.
Oh, okay.
It's open to one of 3 different scriptures in the Old Testament that line up with the degree that we would be open on. So the worshipful master sits here, and we have some tradition.
Did you catch that? He says we open up the Bible to a numbered verse that matches the degree we are lined up with that day. Now, keep that in mind. All right. And by the way, I will link every video. I will link every article in what I call the description of the video. If you look, hold on, let me find it for you. Let me show it to you. Go right here. You see where it says Exploring Freemasonry, Joseph Smith and Temple Connections. If you go down, it says more right here. You see that? The blue, and then it says more. Click on it. This is where all my stuff under the title of my video will be linked, including this video. You can go watch that. We are going to talk more about the symbolism of numbers in Freemasonry. Do not go anywhere, guys. This is fixing to get so deep. I'm going to blow you guys' minds. Make sure you've liked, commented, and if you've not done so, subscribe. We're going for 110 today. All right, guys. So this is so weird. Listen to this. I guess they call him a prophet, talking about the mirror, the temple mirrors of eternity.
For friends in the house of the Lord for time and eternity. Our primary children sing, I love to see the temple. I'm going there someday. Our youth pledged to receive the ordinances of the temple. I recently stood in the house of the Lord with a worthy couple there to receive blessings by covenant. I invited them to make their first honeymoon last 50 years. Then after 50 years, to begin their second honeymoon. I found myself looking with this beautiful couple into the temple mirrors. One mirror on this side, one mirror on that side. Together, temple mirrors reflect back and forth images that stretch seemingly into eternity.
I could be hypnotized just by this dude talking. He talks in a monotone, and it's so deadpan.
Temple mirrors of eternity remind us each human being has divine nature and destiny. Sacred ordinances and covenants available in holy temples make it possible for individuals to return to the presence of God and for family to be united eternally. And growing together in love and faithfulness, we can give children roots and wings. In Temple Mirrors of Eternity,
Did you catch that? Roots and wings. By the way, Mormons believe that when you die, that you could be turned into an angel. Yep. I remember, I guess it was about 20 years ago, I started to notice that people would mention children that had died and they would be like, my baby's an angel in heaven now. And I'm like, that's sacrilegious. Where in the heck did you get that from? Doesn't say that in the Bible at all. Angels are a complete and utterly different creation. That's like saying my baby's in heaven now she's a puppy. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But it people would say, Sam, don't say anything. It's comforting to the mother. I'm not trying to comfort you with falsehood. Your baby is not an angel. Folks, if you had children that have died and you've claimed that your child's now an angel in heaven, that's coming from false doctrine in the Mormon church.
I reflected on first dragon Gong, born 837 AD in the late Tang Dynasty in southern China, and the succeeding Gong family generations to my dear father, our family's 32nd recorded generation.
Listen.
My brother, sister, and I are in our family's 33rd generation. My sons and their cousins, the 34th generation. Our grandson, the 35th recorded Gong family generation.
So this man speaking is a 33rd Mason. They like their symbolism. They love it. I keep digging into this and I cannot find it, but the Lord won't let me let go of it. So somebody's got the information and they just got to get it to me. What does it mean to be a seventh generation Arizonian? There's something extremely powerful about that both the Masons, the Mormons, and the Illuminati and the occult are using. So I need to find that information. If you know it or know somebody with it, please reach out to me.
In Temple Mirrors of Eternity, I could not see a beginning or end of generations. I then imagined not only a succession of generations, but also a succession of family relationships. In one direction, I saw myself as son, grandson, great-grandson, back to first dragon Gong. In the mirrors in the other direction, I saw myself as father, grandfather, great-grandfather. I could see my wife Susan as daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter, and in the other direction as mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. In Temple Mirrors of Eternity, I began to understand my wife and myself as children to our parents and parents to our children, as grandchildren to our grandparents and grandparents to our grandchildren. Mortality's great lessons distill upon our souls as we learn and teach in eternal roles, including child and parent, parent and child. Scripture describes our Savior as the Father and the Son, dwelling in flesh but subjecting the flesh to the will of the Father. Our Savior knows how to succor us, his people, in our pains, affliction, sicknesses, even death.
Yeah, they've got some really weird concepts of death. The Mormons do. All right, so I found this guy, tripped over it. But I don't know how to feel about this guy. Odd, disgust, but also pity. Because I understand the loneliness that, 20 20 on has calls for people. It's so hard for younger generations to find good people to settle down with, meet people. It's very hard. It's not just older people feeling estranged from other humans. The younger generation's really having it hard right now. But just listen to what he says. I'm assuming he's like a newer Mormon because he's super excited about finding a wife and doing this mirror watch.
Enormous blessings. And I was like, I want some of that. I want God to speak to me and offer me promises, make covenants with me, and give me reassurances. And so I was reading there in the missionary training center one day. My companion was in an interview, I think, and I pulled up First Nephi chapter 5 and was reading through that, and I came to this point where it says, "And now when my father saw these things, he was filled with the Spirit and began to prophesy concerning his seed." And I did a double take. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, he prophesied about his posterity. What were these things that he saw? And so I backed up a couple of verses. And it turns out he had the plates of brass now, because Nephi and his brothers went to Jerusalem to get the plates of brass. And he found on the plates of brass a genealogy of his fathers, so that he knew that he was a descendant of Joseph. Okay, we're going to hit pause right now, and we're going to rewind just a little bit, because while I was in the missionary training center, General Conference was happening. And that year in General Conference, October 2010, Elder Garrett W. Gong gave his talk titled "The Temple Mirrors of Eternity." And you go and you read, you listen to that talk, and one of the things that he points out in there is that in the temple, especially in the sealing rooms, where couples are sealed together for time and eternity, there are two mirrors that face each other. And the couple kneels at the altar in front of these two mirrors, one in front, one in behind, and they can just see forever. And in this talk, Elder Gong mentions how going backwards, it represents your ancestors, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and so on infinitely far into the past. And then looking forward through these mirrors, it represents your posterity, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and so on. And you're like, as this couple, you're like the bottleneck of this hourglass kind of shape, where there's this amazing fan out where there are all these ancestors who depend on you. And then there are all these countless.
Did you hear what he said? There are all these ancestors that depend on you. The Mormon church baptizes the dead. So if you get accepted into the Mormon church and you've got family members that aren't Mormon, it's perfectly okay. They're going to take some kids, put them in gowns, and they're going to baptize them in the name of your dead ancestor. And voila, they're going to get transferred up the rungs to the good heaven. And people believe this, you guys. People actually believe this stuff is real.
Thousands, millions, billions, infinite number of children who are depending on you. As so you're the bottleneck. Like this is really cool. You're kind of, I don't want to put it this way, maybe, but you're kind of the center of attention. God really cares very deeply about families and marriages. So, okay, all right. We've got that imagery from.
Bingo. You remember when Erica Kirk said that if Charlie Kirk was going to run for president, that he would make it all about the family and marriage? That would have been what he ran on. Family and marriage. Wow. At this point, I can't tell if Charlie Kirk was a hidden Mormon or not, you guys.
Elder Gong and the temple mirrors. And I was just reflecting on this and my question that I had, and how Lehi was filled with the Spirit so that he could prophesy about his posterity. And he said all these things that would happen to his posterity down goodness knows how many generations. And then it dawned on me. The reason he was able to see forward into the future like that was because he had a record that connected him to the past, to his ancestors. Now, remember the promise of Malachi also, that God would send in the last days the spirit of Elijah, and he would plant in the hearts of the children the promises made to their fathers, and the hearts of the children shall turn to their fathers. So what did Lehi have now on the plates of brass? He knew that he was a descendant of Joseph, and the plates of brass also contained Joseph's patriarchal blessing, literally the promises made to his fathers. And it was by looking to that, understanding that, realizing that he was an heir of those promises.
It's so heartbreaking to me to hear people talk like that. He's talking about a made-up guy named Levi with a made-up set of brass plates and genealogy. Folks, my dad did a video the other day. He's almost 84, so have a little grace there. But he's amazing, and I love him so much. He was talking about how him and my mom went to South Dakota in the last couple of years looking for her family genealogy, because when she did her DNA, she realized the man that raised her and she loved as her father was not her biological father. And yes, that's been an amazing thing. But if my mom would have passed away without knowing, you know what I'm saying? It would have been okay. The Mormons are the ones that started this DNA testing, and they own the entire world's genetic material. In fact, they have arranged marriages within the Mormon church to keep specific bloodlines. And I will also do a video for you guys about, I've done a video called The Most Inbred Country, talking about the Middle East and how they marry basically brother, sister. Sometimes it's really bad. It's why you're seeing so many kids in Palestine with birth defects. That's truthful. I'm not even lying. I've done the research. So what was I saying? Oh, so I'll do one on the Mormon church and talk about how there's some places around Utah, Arizona, Colorado, where there are diseases popping up that have never been there before. I mean, that like no other person has but the Mormons. And it's because they're basically remarrying like against each other. So you've got a set of cousins that marry here and a set of cousins that marry here, and then their kids marry. You know what I'm saying? So it's like first cousin marrying half sibling. And it's disgusting. It's actually illegal in America, but obviously in Utah, the Mormon church rules, period. Now, I love this lady. I know what y'all are going to tell me. I'll say she's atheist. I reckon so. She left the cult. You guys, she took the first step and got her and her family out of a cult. Pray for her instead of judge her. This is America. She can do whatever she wants. But her knowledge of the Mormon church is awesome. And right now, she's talking about how the Mormon church not only influences the world, but controls people like Nick Shirley and Glenn Beck. Let me read you the other ones you probably don't know about. Christina Aguilera, Ryan Gosling, Nick Shirley, Taylor Paul, The Food Nanny, Tanner Mann, Kid Snippets, Trick Shot Titus, Brooklyn and Bailey, Glenn Beck. There's actually going to be a Mormon on The Bachelorette, and most of the people on Dancing with Stars are also Mormons.
Scroll, ad, scroll, ad. Or if you're on a blog reading an article, you might see off to the side different ads that are popping up that are optimized for what they think you might be interested in. This is how ads are served to you. And if you're making content that advertisers are willing to pay a lot more money for, you as the creator get more money. A major way that Google and other advertisers figures out where to put ads is through something called keywords. So these keywords will be something like credit card or open bank account that signal to the algorithm, to the ad algorithm, that you've made content that aligns with what advertisers are looking for. So if you have a dog, you look at a lot of dog content, then Google AdSense can say, okay, this person consumes a lot of dog content. We have advertisers advertisers who have pet foods and leashes, and they want to say, okay, anytime someone uses the word dog, we want you to attach an ad nearby or somewhere on the internet that this person will encounter that's going to make them click on it. So that's why if you have dogs or cats or certain interests, you get fed ads for those things because the algorithm has figured out that that's what you're interested in. And one of the major ways they figure that out is by using keywords. Don't zone out, because this way the advertisers pay for keywords is how the church is going to get our influencers their money. If you recall, we have these two groups, Mormon mommies, and we have the church, lots of money, and the church needs to figure out how to get its money into the hands of these women or these influencers without creating a PR nightmare. So Google AdSense and other ad platforms are going to act, I'll show you, as the intermediary that allows the church to funnel money into these influencers' hands while remaining completely anonymous, or at least mostly anonymous. Let me show you what I discovered. A quick reminder to like this video, smash the subscribe button, and drop a comment below. Check out my Patreon, which I'm launching this week. You can get exclusive content, early content with no ads, and other bonuses available on Patreon. Now that you understand how different types of content earn different levels of ad revenue, let's bring it back to the Mormon Church. While you can't see who these advertisers are spending on this ad revenue, you can see how much they're spending by using certain tools. I'm going to use a tool today called Ubersuggest. This allows me to see how
Right. So she's just explaining to you how people get paid on YouTube, right? Now listen to this.
If you've ever been to a website where it says enable cookies, you click the thing, enable cookies, why is this pop-up getting in my way? You might go to a blog by Rachel Parcell. It knows she's Mormon. It knows you may be interested in the fact that she's Mormon. And just by the fact that she has Mormon as part of her Google public persona, she's gonna see, I believe, some of this ad revenue that comes from this high cost per click on the keyword term Mormon. So she doesn't even have to be that in your face about her Mormonism to benefit from this advertising, because cookies is gonna make it so that it knows the entirety of her website. It knows much of her, it knows that a lot of her followers are Mormon. It knows you may be interested in Mormonism. And so by harvesting that data off of her website, off of your search intent, it can then follow you through the internet, serving you ads about the Mormon Church that it's hoping that you click on. And so you might be thinking, I follow Ballerina Farm and it's not like every post is about Mormonism. The algorithm is complex enough that it can tell that her followers are using the term Mormon or LDS, that it can also tell she lives in Utah. It can also tell that a lot of her demographic of her followers live in Utah. So even if she's not overtly talking about the church, the algorithm is still picking up on the fact that you might be interested in Mormons, and it's going to use cookies to follow you through the internet. You're going to open Instagram, you're going to open Google, you're going to open Facebook, and it's going to use the information that it got that you are interested in Ballerina Farm, which might mean you're interested in Mormonism, and it's going to serve you ads wherever you go on the internet, and I hope you click on that ad that you might be interested in meeting the Mormon missionaries. I'll also say that this is probably something you're already kind of familiar with. If you've ever been served an ad that is related to, maybe your friend who likes archery just got to your house and then you get served an ad about archery, or you and your friend are talking about the baby shower and you're not pregnant, but you still get ads for a baby shower. That is showing you just how complex these algorithms are. For example, if you both have your geolocation on, some people have theorized that if your friend is searching stuff about a baby shower, then your phone can tell that you're in the same room as your friend, and it's going to also be giving you baby shower ads because of its ability to tell that you are in the same room with your friend. So like we talked about with Margot Robbie in the bathtub, the way these algorithms work is very complex. So if the algorithm can tell that you might be interested in Mormonism, it is going to then serve you those ads anywhere you go online, not just when you're literally on that person's page. And to be clear, it's not just the search term Mormon that I think the Mormon church is funneling money into. I mean, who would be spending this much money on advertising if not for the literal Mormon church who has $200+ billion? The Mormon church search term costs $14.21. Mormon missionaries cost a whopping $31.81. So they are dumping money into these key terms in the same way banks and credit card companies can dump advertising money into these search terms because they want to get you to click and hopefully meet with the missionaries. When you click on cost per click, it says this is what advertisers are willing to pay for this search term. Well, in this case, the Mormon church is the advertiser, and the ads are following the Mormon mommy influencers, the bloggers, the YouTubers, the TikTokers. They are using the data that is harvested by these women that there might be an interest in joining the Mormon church to hopefully convert more people into clicking and then ultimately convert them into being 10% tithe payers of the Mormon church. If you look at
There it is, friends and family. And I told you guys that. The Mormon church forces tithes. I've had people come on here. That's not true. That's not true. If you're a Mormon and you work for a Mormon business, you don't have an option. They take your 10% out off the flip. I've had people talk to me about that. Now this, we're getting close to the end of the video. Take a deep breath, stand up and stretch. Everybody breathe with me. Oh, all right, guys, stretch it out. We did it. We're halfway through. I love you guys. All right, so we're getting to the good stuff now, friends and family of the internet. We are getting to the good stuff. Hang in there. Why does any of this matter? This is why.
Because there's only one way to heaven. John 14:6, Jesus said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life, and nobody comes to the Father but by me. Not some universalistic way, not some works false base, not some secret password from the pit of hell. But that's what you get. And you think it's okay? Oh, I didn't know as a Christian. Stop lying. Let's deal with the Shriners. Because we're still on, they got a different God? Oh, they really got a different God. That one was bad enough. Shriners actually pledge allegiance to Allah. Shriners wear that hat. It's in your face. The fez? What's on the fez? An Islamic sword, people. Arabic lettering. That's your first clue. They pledge allegiance to Allah. And you might want to figure out why they have that red hat in the first place. Watch this.
Distinctive headgear that they wear, the fez, and which we've seen all these at circuses, at parades. They come down the street on their motorcycles wearing their fez. Tell us, first of all, what is the Shriners, and what is the significance of that fez?
Well, you'll see the men in the shrine parades and shrine circus wearing their red fez. In order to be a Shriner, you have to reach the highest degrees of Freemasonry, either the 32nd degree of the Scottish Rite or 13th degree of the York Rite, and then you're allowed to go into the shrine. And sadly, many Christians have gone into this, which is hard to understand, because in order to be a Shriner, in the initiation, every Shriner takes a blood oath of allegiance to Allah as his God and Muhammad as his prophet.
Now, are you kidding me?
No. But you swear allegiance that Allah is your God, Muhammad is your prophet. You are then given this red fez with the Islamic sword encrusted in jewels on the front of it. And you'll see men wearing this. And people say, well, why do they wear the red fez? It is because if you study history, during the 7th and 8th century, as the Muslims swept across North Africa, they came to Fez, Morocco. And in Fez, Morocco, there was a large community of Christians. And Muhammad had ordered the slaughter of all the infidels, meaning Christians, who would not bow down to Allah and Muhammad as the prophet. And the Muslims went in with the Islamic sword, and there in Fez slaughtered thousands of Christians. And then they took their Fez hats, and they dipped it in the blood of Christians, glorying in the defeat of Christianity. And that's why the Fezes are red, representing the blood of Christians defeated by the Islamic sword, which they have encrusted in jewels on the front.
Because I have my phone turned off so no one will call and interrupt, would somebody please check to see how many of our presidents, not of the Mormon Church, presidents of the United States, have been Shriners? And then somebody check to see how many of the 17 Mormon Church presidents have been Shriners. Please find that out for me and put it in comments. I would appreciate that.
Can you say that's okay and you can do that and be a Christian? Don't think so. Why is it? No matter how much legislation is passed, they keep bringing in a violent Islamic Muslim element even in our country, let alone the rest of the world.
Right? I've done deep dives, friends and family. If you have not looked at my work, if you've never seen me before, hello, I'm just like you. Please go back and listen to my videos where I'm literally telling you that this is all part of, the United Nations, the Roman Catholic Church, the Mormon Church. They all opened up our southern border. There has been so much information hidden about right across the border how the Mormon Church set up tents to give food and water to people, but it just turned into human trafficking. And as I get that prepared in my 7-part Mormon Church of Influence series, if you guys have information on that you'd like to share, most of you know how to reach out to me, please do that. But folks, they're going to use Islam to usher in the one world religion because they're fanatical, because they're violent. They'll come through, get rid of all of us that won't bend our knee, and everybody else will be too afraid to fight back.
Freemasonry, folks. That's the God they worship. Why is it the increase of Christian persecution, even in the United States of America, is loud? Freemasonry. That's who they worship. The Bible says there's only one name that opens up heaven. Acts 4:12. Salvation is found in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given to men, Jesus Christ, by which men must be saved. Not Allah, not whatever God you want, not Abaddon, not the chief demon over the pit of hell. Are you kidding me? You better come out from among them and be ye separate. Different practice, different God, which of course then, shocker, they have a different gospel. It's flat out works-based. That's not the gospel. The Bible says no matter what you do, man, myself included, we are doomed. We are headed straight to hell unless God intervened by his goodness and grace and the gift of Christ's death on the cross. We're doomed. I didn't say God did. Right? Romans 3:23 and 6:23, for all have sinned, myself included, and fall short of the glory of God. The wages of sin is death. I deserve to die and go straight to hell. And guess what? So do you. We've all sinned. Paul says there's no one righteous, no, not one. There's nothing I can do to reverse it. It's not just we might go to hell. Unless God intervened, we're all going to hell.
Come on.
But here's the good news. That's why it's called gospel. It means good news. The gift of God. Notice the gift. You can't earn a gift. Otherwise it wouldn't be a gift. The gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord. That's the gospel. That's why Paul says this very bluntly. Hello, Ephesians 2:8-9. For it is by what? Grace. It's by God's grace that you've been saved. Through what? Faith. I received what Jesus did for me by faith. I didn't do it. He did it. I couldn't earn it. It's a gift. Through faith. And this is not from yourself. It's a gift from God. Listen, not by works so that no one can boast. You want to boast in something? Boast in the Lord.
Amen.
Boast in his mercy. Boast in the cross of Christ. Boast in his forgiveness. Boast in his love. Don't boast in yourself. But that's what Freemasonry does. They are trusting in their own works to get them to what they call the Grand Lodge in the sky. And I quote, Freemasonry, not Jesus Christ, Freemasonry provides the means by which one can attain salvation. Humans are not in need of someone to make atonement for their sins. Humans are capable of doing all that is needed for their salvation through Masonry. That's why they're out with the hospitals. That's why they're doing good deeds in your community. Not because they're nice, because they're trying to earn their way to the great Lord. That's not the gospel. And if that's what you're trusting in, you're going to hell.
Amen.
But don't take my word for it. When they push comes to shove, they'll admit they're trusting in the works of Masonry to get them there.
Where I live, I had one of the leaders of the Masonic Lodge in our town give me a call. In fact, he was the chaplain of the shrine. And he said, "How dare you say that I'm not a Christian?" He said, "I'm an elder in my church. I teach Sunday school in my church." And I stopped him. I said, "Sir," I said, "if you were to die and stand before God today, and he should ask you, why should I let you into my heaven?" I said, "What would you say to him?" And there was silence on the phone for about 10 seconds. And finally he said to me, he said, "Well, I guess I would have to tell God I was a good Mason." Because you see, Freemasonry claims to be a religion of morality, that through their own good works and through their own good efforts, they say, look at the children's hospitals, look at the burn units, look at the things we support. You know, there's nothing wrong with good works, but friends, good works are not going to save you.
Amen.
But that's what they're trusting in. They admit it. What was the other thing going on with that video? Where was that guy who was trusting works at? An elder in the church.
That's right.
Teaching Sunday school. Wonder if he was teaching works too to the rest. No wonder the church is messed up.
I agree. Right now, so many churches are lacking people for positions. You can go into just about any church, walk in, tell the pastor that you want to teach Sunday school immediately with barely knowing you. They will put you in control of the most precious things in that church, the children. I have seen churches that have couples who are not married, actively living together, obviously having sex because she'll be pregnant or, working on the third kid, teaching youth.
Bible says you better make up your mind, man. And you better make up your mind today. Matthew 6, Jesus said this, verse 24, "No one can serve two masters. Either he's going to hate the one, he's going to love the other, or he's going to be devoted to the one and despise it. You cannot serve both God and money. You cannot serve both God and Freemasonry." You better make up your mind. And you better choose right. But unfortunately, when push comes to shove, the evidence is...
Me fast forwarding. Oh, yeah, he just shows here's the one about the Eastern Stars. Watch this.
Right? Oh, and for the ladies, it's this one, the Order of the Eastern Star. That's the ladies' version of Freemasonry. That's what that is on the headstones. Folks, they're so proud of it, husband and wives, not the cross. It's Freemasonry all the way to the grave. So as you look at that picture, you know what those folks are really telling you? I'm in hell. I'm in hell. Why? Because you weren't trusting the cross of Christ. You were trusting in your own works. This is all over the world. I'll never forget, I was down in, was it San Domingo or something, one of those islands down there. We go into this place and like a little shop, and we had to go up the stairs. I'm going up the stairs. Right there, Freemasonry, square and compass. There's a big head on an island. Leading people to hell. Wow. Which, since we're talking about, the square and the compass, that means they got a different symbol. Now again, what's our symbol? The cross of Jesus Christ. Why? Because that's what we're trusting in for our salvation, and that alone. But not Freemasonry. And when you take a look at how many symbols they got, you're going to start to see, wow, these guys are everywhere. Yeah, that's how they mark their territory. They not only mark their territory with them, but again, they let people know that, hey, we're in your area. Now, this is not something foreign. If you were part of us in our multi-year study on the occult, witchcraft does the same thing, right? They mark their territory with the symbols so that other people know, hey, there's a coven in your area. But they also do it for a dual purpose in the occult. They also codify their beliefs. So the symbol stands for something of a particular teaching, obviously a false teaching, but that's what they do. So they mark their territory with them and they codify their beliefs. Witchcraft does it. Satanism does it. Voodoo, shamanism, Druidism, they all do it. All occults, they take their teachings and they codify them in symbols, and it's the same thing with Freemasonry. Go figure. It's almost like they're coming from the same root. Well, they are. Watch this parallel. I wonder why they're so similar. Let's take a look.
Some of the parallels between Freemasonry and witchcraft show such a similarity that it cannot possibly be coincidental. Similarities in ritual, wording, and symbolism are so close in several instances that it clearly suggests a common origin. To examine this possibility, I spoke with a number of former Masons and compared their Blue Lodge initiations with the experiences of former occultists.
Remember when I backed it up earlier and I showed you in that earlier video and it said Blue Lodge, like in the bottom of the building? Yeah.
In the initiation in Freemasonry, we had to be recommended by another Mason.
Well, in order to join witchcraft, you have to be first screened. You have to be recommended by somebody currently in witchcraft.
Well, when I was initiated, I was blindfolded and bound by a rope, and on your bare chest was thrust the point of a spear.
In witchcraft, we were initiated through a very involved ritual, initiation ceremony, wherein the candidate was led blindfolded, bound by a rope to the edge of the magic circle.
And the rope is around your neck and your lid forward. And up front, in the eastern end of the building, is a person who's a worshipful master. And you kneel down before him as if he were a god.
You were met by the high priest or high priestess at that time, usually with a sword to your chest.
When I went to enter the lodge, a sharp object was put to my left breast. And I was warned that should I reveal any of the secrets of Freemasonry, to know what to expect.
When you're presented before the high priest, a sword is held against your chest, and you actually take a blood oath, promising to remain faithful to the secrets of witchcraft.
Well, when you are in the room, this blindfold is taken away from you, and this is a time when they say that you're coming from darkness into light.
During the initiation ceremony, the initiate is led by the lieutenant of the high priest and is challenged at the edge of the circle by someone saying, "Who goes there?" And the answer is, "One from the world of darkness."
In Masonry, the prayers are ended with "So mote it be."
Oh, and one of the other aspects of, or distinctives of the craft was that we would always end any spell or ritual where we released the power, this is where the power was released, with the word "So mote it be."
I was intrigued to discover that witchcraft and Freemasonry had so much in common.
Because Satan only has the same playbook: kill, steal, destroy. He mimics. He calls himself an angel of light, but he isn't. He deceives. He can only mimic creation. He cannot create.
Freemasonry goes so far as to actually call Lucifer God. In the words of Sovereign Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry, Albert Pike, yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately, Adonai, the Hebrew God of the Bible, is also God. And the true and pure philosophical religion is the belief in Lucifer, the equal of Adonai. But Lucifer, God of light and God of good, is struggling for humanity against Adonai, the God of darkness and evil.
Gee, why does Freemasonry, also known as the craft, have so much in common with witchcraft and Satanism? It's coming from the same root, you're right. That's
and
why,
Mormons.
Folks. In your face, it's right there.
And Mormons.
Oh, but I didn't know I was a... Not buying it. Again, once you see their symbols, you'll see, oh, wow. They're everywhere. And I mean everywhere. If you get our studies on this, you will, I go down deep on what every single one of these means, because they codify their beliefs. But the square and the compass, the letter G, that's their version of the God. That's not the God of the Bible, the universal thing, whatever you want in. All C and I. Again, evil likes to brag. They're in your face. They tell you exactly who's really behind this event or organization, whatever. Right? They do it all the time, right? Because every time I take a picture, that's what I do. Seriously. I've had the privilege of taking pictures with a lot of people. And every single time, that's just my knee-jerk reaction. It's natural. It's normal, right? Are you kidding me? You got to work at these poses, folks. You're telegraphing is what it's called, who you're working for, right? And it's everybody, folks. Authors, musicians, Hollywood, singers, you name it. And you wonder why a lot of their stuff is rotten to the core and horrible and advancing a Luciferian agenda, even here in Vegas, folks. It's no joke, okay? All down the line, the music industry, Hollywood, all the people you're thinking, whoa, wait a second. Elon Musk's wife? One of his wives, yeah. Totally satanic. Not only that, but his mom's heavily into Luciferian order, right? You got to work at those. Because that's how everybody, we always take pictures like that. Hey, oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, wait a second. They're telling you who they're working for, folks. That's how secret societies work. Lady Gaga, of course, Angelina Jolie. And again, it's not just Hollywood, the media and authors and all that stuff. It's the government has been infected. So-called religion has been infected. So-called Christian denominations have been infected. They're everywhere, folks. But they'll tell you if you know what to look for, but most people don't know what to look for. That's just Angela Merkel, right? She's telling who she is. She's over in Europe. Of course, even sports figures, they do the same thing. Gee, how do they rise to fame so quickly? Beyonce, she admitted in some of her other studies, she's possessed by spirits that gives her power. She admits she's demon-possessed, right? So that's not a conspiracy theory. Everybody, folks, does this. The all-seeing eye. Also the blazing star, when you see that, that's Masonic. The golden gloves, you see them when they go to their things, it's always the white gloves. Why? They symbolize that by their own hands, they're providing their purity, their own purity, not Jesus. They admit, I am following works-based. And the same thing with the lamb skin apron. But you really need to listen to what Jesus warned about people.
Now, the connection to the Mormon church are the undergarments that the initiates are forced to wear after one of the temple somethings. They're forced to wear these undergarments and the apron. It's just so odd that people willingly go through these initiations without questioning it. I mean, it really is, friends. It really is.
Who would do and wear that? Watch this.
And you can read the authorities of Freemasonry. Read Albert Mackey, Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, History of Freemasonry. Read Albert Pike, his Morals and Dogma. The authority, so authoritative, he's the only man buried in the Masonic Lodge in Washington, D.C. And they will tell you that Masonry is a religion. And they claim to be the revival of the ancient mystery religions of Babylon and Persia and Egypt. And what these Babylonian cults were fertility cults.
Right.
Where they worship the male organ. And this is why, for example, when a Mason goes into the lodge, every Mason receives this white lambskin apron. And they will wear this as a covering. And they say that it is through the male organ that man achieves immortality and eternity through his generating his offspring. And
there it is. And that is why the Mormons force people to kneel down in front of mirrors and see their past and their present, because they believe one day they themselves will be gods.
And all of this is found in their own writings. It is a pagan, non-Christian cult. When a Mason is buried with the white lambskin apron, and understand, folks, Jesus said in Matthew 7:15, he says, beware the false prophets who come to you dressed in sheep's clothing.
Ooh. Wow.
And every Mason, the first thing he puts on when he goes into the lodge is puts on the sheep's clothing. And Jesus says in Matthew 7, they're going to call me Lord. They're going to preach in my name. They're going to say, Lord, didn't we do all these good works in your name? And Jesus says in verse 23, I'm going to tell them, I never knew you. Depart from me.
What?
You evil doer.
Come on, Jesus.
Also, the beehive is a big thing, symbolizing they're busy working their way and things of that nature. The plum.
And Deseret. Wow, I never understood the beehive on Deseret. Deseret was actually what Joseph Smith wanted his land to be called, and they had a beehive. A beehive is a big Mormon symbol.
And the level, you got, of course, the trowel, the rough and perfect ashlars. This is in your face. You start out rough imperfect, but through masonry, you become perfect. It's works-based false gospel. The columns and the pillars, you got the winding stairs. Again, we break all these down in great detail in our study if you want to get that. The Masonic shoe, of course, the coffin, the sheaf of corn, the two-headed eagle, and again, this is in your face, the checkered floor. This is.
If you go back and you pull up anything from Candace Owens when she was converted to the SSPX, it was a checkered floor, columned cathedral that she was in. It's masonry. And when I was in New Orleans the other day, I climbed that fence and I videoed for you guys. The outside of that Catholic church looked just like a Masonic lodge.
Everywhere. But people just go in one ear out the other. Wow, I wonder who's really behind the horrible music industry that's satanic nowadays. Well, gee, let's see if we can figure out who is behind the music industry. And I mean, I thought, just we're Vegas, play the odds. You'd think at one time they put carpet down, maybe wood paneling. Why is it the same white and black checkered floor? Because they're telling you who they're working for, folks. It's a Luciferian organization. That's what's going on over and over and over again. Now, some of these.
But if you listen to Candace Owens, it's the Joes.
Symbols, you're going like, wait a second, I've seen those before. Especially when I drive up to Utah in Mormon country. Well, that's because Joseph Smith was a Freemason. He was not only a con artist, a liar, a cultist, a plagiarist, but he was a Freemason. And he ripped off a lot of his so-called secret rituals in the temple, secret passwords, secret names, secret handshakes from Freemasonry. The guy's a liar. But that's why you see such similarities, which leads us, of course, to the final thing, and they have a different agenda. Shocker. And their agenda is they believe, as you saw, Lucifer is a good guy. Okay? And we need to listen to him and what he says to do to bring peace to the planet. Okay?
And what does the Bible tell us, friends and family? When they say peace, get ready. Get ready, because it's coming.
And that's what they're working towards. Now, most people aren't going to respond to that, so they do it by force, right? And you and I are familiar with their modus operandi. It's called order out of chaos. Create a crisis, you manage the outcome.
And haven't we seen that so much here recently with what happened with Charlie Kirk? I'm going to let this play. Someone's in my yard.
And then they advance the next step of that Luciferian agenda, which, by the way, the Bible is the only book on the planet that tells you, that's called the antichrist kingdom, and God's been warned about for 2,000 years, and you don't want to be there. Right? But that's what they do. What most people don't know, we know that that's their modus operandi, order out of chaos, create a crisis, manage the outcome. They don't realize that's from Freemasonry, folks. It's the motto of the Scottish Rite. Order out of chaos. That's how they advance this different agenda, this Luciferian agenda, the coming Antichrist kingdom that they think is a good thing. That's what they're doing around the world in these secret meetings. It's no joke. And again, they'll take a crisis that they purposely created and use it to advance their agenda, including the pandemic. The pandemic was a huge leap forward in the Antichrist kingdom. But most people didn't catch it. You know why? Because even though they told you in your face who was behind it, people didn't see the codes. But they're there. Watch this. Have we already forgotten?
Well, we just had an incredible visit up at NIH at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease that Dr. Fauci leads. And the president got to hear from the actual bench scientists who, within 3 days, developed a potential vaccine for the novel coronavirus. And they reported some really important news to the president, that yesterday the Food and Drug Administration authorized the entry of that vaccine into phase 1 safety clinical trials.
33 confirmed positive tests.
We have 33 Pennsylvanians who have tested positive for COVID-19.
Today we have 33 cases.
There were 33 new cases.
The state of Minnesota today reported 33 new COVID-19 related deaths.
There are 33 confirmed cases in Arkansas.
That's the largest single-day increase so far, raising the total to 33.
33.
There were 33 confirmed cases in North Carolina.
33. There was 33 everywhere. I think that was Red Team Go. I think 33 is like Red Team Go. Yeah. Everybody goes, okay, let's do it. It's time.
Yeah, 100%.
Dude, there's like literally 1,033s and 33 new cases. 33 people died.
The number 33, we all know what that represents. Everywhere, every single day, it was like, well, 12 more cases, which now brings the state to 33.
Yes.
We had 33 cases today.
Yes.
We had 11 cases, which now it's 33. 33 more people. How dumb do you have to see to not understand this is going on? Yeah, that was green light go. We're off to the races.
Yeah.
History is truly at a turning point.
It'll take time to restore chaos.
They used the same terminology during the Charlie Kirk assassination and the memorial. The chaos. You're going to keep hearing that. Those are all their buzzwords. By the way, don't forget to get your book, Growing Under a Poisoned Sky. It's linked. Keep watching.
Order, but we're order out of chaos, but we will.
In your face. Most people didn't catch it because they don't know and they've never been taught. And that leads us to order out of chaos. How do you advance, create a crisis? Then you use that to push your Luciferian agenda. To this. That right there is probably the most popular photo of right just before Charlie Kirk got assassinated on the internet. Who really killed him? Why was he killed? Always watch what happens after the crisis. It can be hijacked to push a Luciferian agenda. Right now, the Jews are getting a lot of blame for it. But was it really them?
No.
I'm not saying thus saith the Lord, but if you know how the game works, folks, in your face. We'll tell you, we'll laugh at you, Christian, we'll mock you.
I want you to notice his Starbucks coffee. The face is turned straight towards us. And notice the hats. Keep watching the hats.
3 hats. Carefully staged. I don't know. I'm kind of hooked on math. 4 plus 7 is 11. But there's a second hat is another 11. There happens to be 3, not 5, not 100. A third hat, which equals 33 in your face. That's how these guys operate, folks. And that's what I've been saying. A lot of people say, oh, I wonder who did it or what this or this. No, all I'm saying is you better watch the outcome. Create a crisis. You manage the outcome. And it's already been used to push this ecumenical one world religion baloney talk.
Come on.
I'm not saying Charlie was a part of it. I don't know. I'm just saying this is.
That has been my question from day one, too. I firmly believe Charlie loved Jesus. I think there came a point, especially when his best friend, the Mormon, released screenshots of a private conversation to Candace Owens, whose husband, George Former, was involved with Andrew Tate a long time ago. You know what Andrew Tate is up on charges for, right? Human trafficking, child trafficking, essaying women. Then you move over to Erica Kirk, who had the Romanian Angels, all that investigation that just dropped dead. I think Charlie distanced himself from Candace Owens for obvious reasons. His so-called Mormon best friend releases screenshots that he says he took off of his phone to give to the police who had Charlie Kirk's phone. So you wouldn't have needed to screenshot a specific conversation because they had the entire conversation. So that didn't pan out. But then he releases it to Candace Owens. And supposedly it turns all the blame against Israel because they're creating a narrative. And they're all in on it.
This is what they do. Use something to push their agenda. And it's leading somewhere. it really is leading towards the antichrist Luciferian order. And that's thanks in part to this guy. As we close, Albert Pike is single-handedly one of the biggest reasons why Freemasonry really got popular across our country, unfortunately. And he was a very big, imposing dude, right? Probably should have stopped eating chicken long ago, right? He was a big dude, right? And but he basically, and this is from a secular source, from the History of Witchcraft and Demonology, but they admit Albert Pike, totally demonic. He sojourned into the occult, conjured the devil, engaged in sexual orgies, and was part of Luciferian organizations. Not a good guy. He was, I would say, demon-possessed, in contact with demons. He eventually ends up, in all places, Arkansas, where these critters came out of. Shocker. And then, in the late 1800s, these demons gave him a vision of what needs to happen to the planet in order to, out of that chaos, bring about this Luciferian Antichrist order. And you know what the demons told him? He wrote it down. He says, we need to create 3 world wars. And that will bring about the Luciferian order. Watch this.
The year is 1871. Albert Pike writes a mysterious letter to Giuseppe Mazzini that contains within a prediction for 3 world wars. Albert Pike had an interesting background. He was fluent in multiple languages and fought for the southern states as a Confederate general. He's famously known as a 33-degree Freemason and a Satanist Luciferian, and was one of the top leaders in the Ku Klux Klan. His vision of the future originates from his occult background and his supposed communications with the demonic. What you're about to hear is a description of a dream, and in this dream, he predicted 3 world-changing wars.
The First World War, he said, must be brought about, and I'm quoting from Albert Pike. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and German empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. Now, students of history will know that Otto von Bismarck forged certain alliances between 1871 and 1898, which brought about this war, this World War I. And Otto von Bismarck here says that he was a co-conspirator with Albert Pike, and he was the one instrumental in bringing about the First World War. He says, quote, the Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism will be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Well, there are some who may argue that the terms Nazism and Zionism were not known in 1871. You should remember, however, that the Illuminati invented both of these movements. In addition, communism as an ideology and as a coined phrase originates in France during the Revolution. In 1785, Restif coined the phrase 4 years before the Revolution broke out. Then he has this vision, in this vision, not only 1 world war and 2 world wars, but here comes the 3rd World War. He says, and I quote, the 3rd World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. Yeah, that's what he says. The war, this was 1925. Please understand that. At least 1925. May go all the way back to 1871, as is purported to do, but at least it was written in a book and published. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. That's what it says. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm in which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin and savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. So he's against Christianity and he's against atheism. They're supposed to fight each other to the death, you see. Then, he says, everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowledge where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result in the general reactionary movement which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Well, I don't know if it's true, but I can tell you that it sure has played into what is being carried on in the Middle East today. And it looks like everything from World War I and World War II, with the development of the State of Israel, and with the Zionist movement and the Communist movement and the atheist movement, and the peppering down of persecution on the Christians of this world, it looks like that may be Lucifer's attempt at annihilation of us all, so that Lucifer will appear in the form, of course, of what the Bible calls the antichrist, and establish peace on earth for mankind. I got news for all those Illuminatists. There won't be a fight between Christianity and atheism, because we will be gone.
Or what Jesus says, Luke 21:28, when these things begin to take place, we're seeing the setup, folks.
Stand up.
Stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near.
That's what I'm telling you guys. A lot of people do not understand. I was going to show this one also. This is from Difficult Research, Hidden True Crime, Weaponizing Copyright Law. Let me see. I don't have much time left. I still have to cook Stephen's lunch. He, 2 weeks to the day after a 4.5-hour surgery inside of his face that she could not even finish, went back to work. God, I love that man. Brain aneurysm, facial surgery. He went back to work because he said, and I quote, "You have to eat, pumpkin." I love him. So he's working part-time right now because yes, YouTube remonetized us. Thank you, Jesus. But that money will not come till the end of November. And even though I paid our hard bills, we still have living expenses like most people. So if you'd like to get our monthly newsletter, so into what we do here, look at the top of comments, add your email to whatever you donate. I'll get you on our monthly newsletter list. Friends and family, it's not that hard to see what they're trying to do. But this is the point when he said, you know, Albert Pike said that Christianity and atheism will fight itself out. But Christians, we will not be here. Because there's a lot of people that use Christianity, but they are not Christians. Unfortunately, it's going to be a lot of Mormons. There's going to be a lot of Catholics. There's going to be a lot of Baptists. There'll be a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. They're all going to get left behind. Tribulation is not for believers. God's wrath is not to be poured out on you and I. We are the righteous. Now, when does the rapture happen? We're going to talk about that later today if my friend has time. Because honestly, it doesn't really matter what the timing is. The end result is the same for us who are under the blood, and there should be no dissension in the church. Now, this lady used a bit of my video the other day. Praise God. And I wanted to show you guys, she is bringing out true crime. There's an issue going on in true crime where the Mormon church is concerned. And there are people bullying the Mormon church, and their influences are bullying other people to hide this murder.
Yeah, I don't know her. I just know that it seems, how it looks to me, it looks like it's all just staged and just meant to demonize this girl for what? I don't know. Like a scapegoat, or like she didn't like her, so she's just gonna. I'm just trying to figure out the motives, What does it look like to y'all? Does it? Oh, wow. Oh, okay. ERFLA. Homicide. Oh, I missed it. Let me go to it. Homicide survivors all deal with tragedy differently and in their own time. It is no one's business how and how long they grieve. It's a process over and over again. No, I didn't get to talk to him yet. I have to email him. I'm just so do, I'm just kind of move at my own little pace, and it's usually not fast. So I'm always kind of taking everything in. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of people don't quite, and right now I'm not really making too much sense. I feel like I'm just talking in a circle, but I just say allegedly, and I say it a lot though. That'll get on your nerves. It gets on my nerves, but I don't want to get myself in a pickle, especially not with these kind of people. I wouldn't do that to anybody, not on purpose. Not like, my stalker, like, no, that's wild. But I'm glad, and I hope you feel comfortable here and you have your own thoughts, okay? Share them just within, YouTube reason. I don't like to cancel people. I don't like to silence them. I don't know, maybe
You and I are a little different. I don't mind differences of opinions, but there are some people that just want to cause dissension in the church. And I usually remove their voice off my channel because we're here to learn. We're not here to argue. If you have an arguing spirit, an ugly spirit, I just block you. I can almost sense it as soon as I get their
let's
comment.
see. So the temple, and then they go through like the oath of vengeance. They have the endowment ceremonies that are going on in there. I think Lori and Chad, this is my conspiracy, okay, which I think that Lori and Chad were matched up. There's just kind of like this recruitment system that's going on, like-minded people, the call out thing.
Let me see if I went back far enough. Hold on, because y'all need to hear what she's got to say about this.
And others, maybe other people's are legitimate with their near-death experiences, but Chad, his aren't. Neither are Julie Rose, and I don't believe neither are Tom Harrison's. And come on, Lori Vallow, are you effing serious? Sit down. You ain't had no near-death experiences. Why can't they whole ass die is one of the questions I've asked. Why they always just gotta, half-ass something. Anyways, but there's a difference. The regular members basically go to just these regular church meeting houses. But when you're ready to give your life to the temple, like Lori did, when you're ready to wear the Jesus jammies, when you're ready to, I don't know. And so I'm sure somebody in here will, please, put it in the comments. Do you have to pay tithing for just the regular church or just the temple, or both? Isn't it both? But I'm not quite sure about that. So thank you in advance. But let's see. So the temple, and then they go through like the oath of vengeance. They have the endowment ceremonies that are going on in there. I think Lori and Chad, this is my conspiracy, okay, which I think that Lori and Chad were matched up. There's just kind of like this recruitment system that's going on, like-minded people, the call out thing with Julie Rowe, this kind of terminology where they sealed Lori and Chad together. You know how many times I heard people, they would die on this hill. They would say they cannot sneak around in the temple and have any kind of ceremony, not even their own, not even Jason Mao. Like, no, that's not how that works. And I've never been in one, so who am I to argue? But then FBI agents or analysts testified, church records were produced. James and Elena's story, written by Chad Daybell, corroborates. I mean, there's a lot. And not just that, but Melanie Gibbs, she first says that Chad and Lori just kind of, they just did like their own thing. But then each time she gets questioned about that aspect of it, about the church, the temple, and whatever Chad and Lori allegedly did, and even testifies to, like, they kept moving closer and closer inside the temple. But she was like, oh, but it wasn't the sealing room. Oh, well, thank God it wasn't the sealing room. I mean, God forbid it be official. You're in the damn temple. You're doing these things. You come out with 2 new names, 2 new personas, and you don't want to be married to your spouses anymore because you're still too chatty daddy. So y'all do the math. And I think that whenever they go rogue like this, when they become a mainstream spectacle, something that could bring bad juju to the church, that's when I think they label it. Okay. They demonize it. They distance. They label it. They drop it like it's hot. They excommunicate it. They disfellowship it. That's what I'm saying. They distance. They do everything. That's why I believe the church has so many quote unquote sects or whatever. That's why they have so many break-offs. It's just, that's what they're doing. They're still practicing, in my opinion, allegedly polygamy. It's just secret, down low, occult, secret society. The church, the temple is, in my opinion, a secret society because you have to have a temple recommend to go there. Lori was willing to kill for hers, and then she did. There's like I said, that recruitment system where Jason Mao, they do, Linda with It's a Crime, she did do some videos about code talk about books. She's like, every time Lori says books, and that like a fake letter she sent to give Chad an alibi, acting like it was my uncle asking for Chad to help him write a book. Somewhere else, that book thing mentioned, and now I don't remember where I got it, but I'm like, oh my God, I think she's onto something because, yeah, I found the lingo, but I don't remember where right this second. But that tracks too, so I have to go visit her. I go revisit people's channels and I rewatch stuff that I watched on Nor Jasmine, It's a Crime, Gigi. I kind of make my rounds. But I just think it's important to know that there's a separation in the 2 different worship, the 2 different things. Because a lot of people just think of church. You think of one church, right? I did. That the temples are what they were having problems with lately. If you keep up with Mormonish, she keeps up with the temples being built and just all the city regulations and how Mormons just go in there. In a lot of these instances, it seems, where they just go and kind of use their weight and power and just overpower. And it's just for the height of the steeple or whatever. And it's just, or whatever that's called. And it's kind of gross, really. It's very distasteful. And I think a lot of people are waking up to this fact. And I get it. It's not a me problem. It's a we problem.
Steeples, why don't across all the members wear cross necklaces? We don't parade across around everywhere.
If you don't wear it everywhere.
Well, the simple reason is, and Gordon B. Hinckley says something about this, we believe that the symbol of Christ is his teachings.
I have those videos of him and people testifying or, they're sharing their stories about how he had they were doing basically Diddy parties, okay, back in the day.
Yeah, she has a great video out about the Mormon church hidden sexual abuse of children. Go check that. I watched it last night. It blew my mind.
It's just the image is all that we see, unless we dig further, dig behind the curtain, look behind the curtain, look behind the veil, whatever, see what's operating it, ask questions. Then some people are okay with just seeing. I was one of them at one point, and I can't turn away.
We don't like to just give Christ one little symbol, right? Especially not what he was murdering. The symbol for eternal life should not be the death of the Savior.
I've always been comfortable with that idea. That the thing that
it doesn't matter what the hell you're comfortable with. That's not how this works. I don't think.
So it's one of the most tragic events in the history of the universe.
It's interesting that they refused to use that symbol because, again, that was not about Christ's defeat. That was his, that was his defeat over death. And for all of us, what that means to us is that we have defeat over death and defeat over sin. But they don't use that symbol because it means something different to them. Yes, they have their own set of works in the scriptures. So many who will hear this will be familiar with the quad scriptures. What is that? Well, it's the Holy Bible, Book of Mormon, Doctrine and Covenants.
Hold on. She talks right here is where it gets
At one point we were coached to not say that we believe this is the only true church anymore.
You have to pass.
If it had not been for Joseph Smith and the Restoration, there would be no salvation.
You have to do an interview with the bishop and or the stake president, which would be in Lori's case would I don't know, Gabe Bonilla. And they went, that picture I showed y'all earlier of Gabe Bonilla and Jason Mao right here. They were actually going to deliver this book which Jason wrote the series, which I think are being used in some of these schools. I've heard some rumors of it about Captain Moroni and the war chapters and all this bullshit. And he sold a lot and taught and pushes this kind of rhetoric in these charter schools. Okay. Especially in Arizona where he's from. And
yeah. And she brings up the concern I had about the 7th generation Arizonian. And she's the only other person I've ever heard say that. And I'm curious if anybody else knows any information on that stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed my extremely long video. There's so much information here. There's no way for me to make this small. Turn it like I do on 2.5 speed. It does help get through it a bit faster. For the ones of you who made it to the end, thank you. Give me a double thumbs up if you made it all the way to the end. Make sure to share this. Let's break the algorithm, friends and family. The truth has to come out. I firmly believe the Charlie Kirk assassination is going to be tied in somewhere with the Illuminati, with Freemasonry, which automatically means the Mormon Church. I love you guys so much. Thank you. Thank you for your time, for your prayers, for your support. I couldn't do it without you. I love you guys so much. Be blessed.